This weekend, Joann Fabric and Craft Stores is heating things up with the winter warm-up sale. Enjoy incredible doorbusters like 70% off anti-pill fleece prints and solids, 50% off keepsake calico prints, and up to 40% off decorative storage. Before shopping, go to Joann.com and get a coupon for an extra 20% off your total purchase. Regular and sale-priced items included, exclusions apply. The savings are hot with the winter warm-up sale going on now through Monday only at Joann Fabric and Craft Stores.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Saturday Symposium, but before we begin, let's hear from our host.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. This is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, O glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States. Individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation, and justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Again, welcome to Saturday Symposium with Dan Wilson. And as always, we must remember that our country is run by the people and not the leaders. Somehow we've gotten that backwards over the years, and we're going to be discussing that in a little bit later on in this show. I'd like to start out today by talking about the elections, since the primary is coming up in a few weeks here, and it's going to be time to start, thinning out the field. Right now, Jeb Bush, he's giving it a valiant try, but I don't see him going anywhere. Even here in Florida, he's not really gaining any traction. And I think it's just people have had enough with the establishment types, and they are looking for some changes. This is why we're seeing Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, all being up there in the field, while people like good old Jeb is lagging behind. And the establishment doesn't know what to do with this. They have never met nor understood that eventually the people are going to stand up against what has been happening. And people have finally had it. We're sick and tired of the same rhetoric given to us by both parties. I can't just blame this on the Democratic Party, though President Obama has sped up our demise. And that's why later on in the show we'll be discussing the possibility of an Article 5 convention. But right now, I've been hearing that Carly Fiorina, who hasn't gained much traction in the polls, is seriously being considered in the role of vice president. And this would counteract the Hillary aspect for any presidential candidate. I also looked at Rubio, and sadly I'm seeing more and more of the establishment coming out of him. And I don't believe he's going to solve a lot of the problems we need solving. This is why we need somebody from the outside. People are also underestimating Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, for a man to achieve what he has achieved, he has all the skill sets necessary to be the President of the United States. People say he doesn't understand foreign policies, etc. He's not aggressive enough. But to become the head neurosurgeon at Johns Hopkins is more than a feat. When he was hired by Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins was not even known. Today, it is a leading medical institute in our country. So I would like people to start taking him a lot more seriously than before. Another person we need to watch out for, who is part of the establishment, is Chris Christie, because he can come up quickly and create some problems, especially when it comes to people like Trump. And then we have, last but not least, we have Donald Trump. And a lot of people are also not giving him credit. In order to have gained and created that much money in his career, you have to have negotiation skills, and you have to have leadership skills, and you have to be aggressive. These are three qualities that we can see in a presidency. What Donald Trump shows on TV is strictly an act. He gives you what you do, the people what they want to see. Behind the scenes, though, he is a savvy individual who knows what he's doing, who can do the negotiations with foreign governments far better than anyone else. We know he has the ability to run our economy and get our economy up and going. And I believe he also has the political skills necessary to accomplish the job. I'm still hearing a lot of conservatives who are saying, I'll never vote for him, I'll do the same thing I did in the last election. People, listen to me. Look what happened when we had conservative Republicans refusing to go to the polls in the last election. What happened? We got Obama for another 4 years. And if we do a repeat, we're going to have it worse off because we're going to have Hillary for another 4 years. And she, we know, is a liar, a cheat, and somebody we do not, nor can our country afford to have elected. We have some very, very good and qualified candidates. And even if Trump is elected, mark my word, he's going to take advantage of the people who ran against him because there is so much talent in that pool. You'd be crazy not to. And I know Trump well enough to understand that he sees the value in these people. You don't see brains like Fiorina or Carson or Cruz, who all can bring to the table vital things. And I also believe that he will listen to his leaders, and he'll take the information in, and he would make the correct decisions. No person comes into a presidency and knows everything. The value of a good president is one who is smart enough to bring in people who are smart enough to make the decisions. And a good president is a person who surrounds them with great people. Because no single person can be the President of the United States. It must be a conglomerate of people, and then the President makes the final decision. This is what a lot of Americans don't understand. This position is so difficult that is requiring multiple minds, and the sign of a good president is a person who picks the appropriate people to assist him. Like, I wouldn't doubt it if we saw Art Laffer returning as an advisor, as an economic advisor, and other greats in our country. We have a lot of brilliant minds in our country, and I believe a person like Trump or Carson or Fiorina would be able to take advantage of these people, and they are not, being from the outside, they are not infected by the establishment. So they will be able to be working more for the people. And the three I mentioned, not all three of them have more than enough money to sit down, retire, and not worry about it. So the buy-off thing, I don't think it's going to be as easy, which is great, because this way we know these people are working for the best interests of our country. And as for Cruz, he's the politician of the group, and he can help steer us around from a political perspective. So, using just the talents of those four people is a great way to start a cabinet. And we got to start thinking in those terms. And we also have to get out of our minds this stupid idea of not voting or throwing your vote away on a candidate who you know does not have a chance. If you haven't learned from the last election, then you never will. In order to get to the conservatives that we want in office, we say this time and time again, it starts at the grassroots. We start going around, we start getting in and helping individual states get rid of the elites and replacing them with conservatives. Eventually, we can get enough conservatives in office, inside both houses, that we gain control. And once we establish control, then it's easier to bring in a conservative president. By going out and saying, I'm not going to, since I didn't get my candidate in, I'm not going to play, is absolutely absurd. If our forefathers did that, we wouldn't be the country we are today. And with that, I think I've done my rant for a little while, so I'll pass it over to our co-host in beautiful Dallas, Texas, and then Glenn will send it over to Gary, who is our host from the frozen tundra up in North Dakota.
Very frozen.
So Glenn, take it from here.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Dan and Gary. And hello, America. And, Dan, you make a lot of good points, of course, as usual. Very well stated. And, a lot of people, that is the strongest point you made, I believe, is of utmost importance. And that is that the people that may not be supporting at this moment a certain candidate in the conservative GOP race, if they just have an attitude of I'm just going to not vote, then each individual, people just don't understand the power of one. They just do not understand that. And the power of one is there's a lot of ones out there, and each one of them accumulated over thousands and even millions of votes, of course. If you decide not to vote because your candidate, as you may think, is not going to be the nominee, well, what you've done is that with that one vote, one vote can cancel out a vote that's on the Democratic side, and if you don't utilize that, then if one doesn't utilize that one vote, then that's like giving another vote to the Democrats, because every one vote that we have has to cancel their votes, and we have to have more in order to dominate, in order to be the nominee, in order to actually go against Hillary or whomever else that comes out of the woodwork in the next couple months, which I believe there is someone coming out of the woodwork. I have a very, very strong feeling about that, and I think it's going to be an eye-opener. But we need people to focus on whomever be the nominee is way better than anyone the Democrats will ever put up against us. Because that's exactly what they're doing, folks, against us. They're not for us, they're against us. And you can't stress that enough, can you, Dan? Because that is what people need to understand is, we've got a lot of great candidates. Whomever gets the nominee is going to choose other people that are, other candidates for their cabinet. We know that. They're going to use at least, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and possibly even 6 people or more that are up there. And that's amazing. And you got to remember, folks, we're all, whether it be Dan or Gary or myself or Scott or Jennifer or anyone else, we may not all be for the same candidate, but what we are is we're for the Republic. Not just the Republicans, but the Republic. And these people are standing for the Republic. The Democrats are not. They're standing for their own agendas. And therefore, we have to unite. We have to unite. And the first and foremost way of uniting is to get right with God first and repent for what we've done wrong. And we have a clean slate when we do that. It's promised to us, folks. And then we unite with each other. And then what we do is we take that information that we have, and we got to go out there and vet them more and more and more. Not just make an announcement today, that he or that's my candidate, because, there's just so much involved. And, you don't necessarily have to take Dan's or myself's or Gary's or Scott's or anybody's advice and who we're saying this is the best, because it may not be the best for you. But the one decision you need to take advice on, and that is the best decision is to vote. Not to not vote, but to vote for a conservative that is left at being the nominee. That is something that you need to take the advice of. And in doing that, you have to vet these people. That is the most important thing that you need to do with God. And other than that, the rest will take care of itself as long as you do your part, because the power of one is a lot more powerful than you may think. Because without that one, someone else is going to take that one and they're going to use it to their advantage. And therefore, then we get another 4 years, 8 years of a Democrat administration that we've gotten for the last 7 years. We need to change this around, turn this whole thing around, and the only way we're going to do it is by really paying attention and getting involved. And Dan also mentioned the grassroots. Very important, extremely important, because it is from the people to the leaders, not the leaders to the people. So we have to change things from within our homes, within our communities, our schools. We need to get involved that way and know what's going on around us, because if we don't know what's going on around us, it's no different than being a blind person that has someone coming up to them with a baseball bat and hitting them in the head. They're not going to see it coming. But we can be in control of what's coming if we are part of that process, and that is getting involved at the grassroots. So, you also mentioned, Dan, about the different candidates and how we need to have them, unite also and also have to go against Hillary Clinton. And, when you spoke about Carly Fiorina and how, she's being, being checked out as being a possibility for VP possibilities. And you know what? Yeah, she could do very well with that position, up against a Hillary especially. And at the same time, I believe two things are in the process of happening here. A lot of people disagree, and that's fine. That's what we're here for, is to have our own thoughts and opinions, because it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's just a thought or opinion. But I really, truly believe with the more emails that are coming out with Hillary Clinton, I think two things are happening. That is that I believe she is going to be indicted. I believe the FBI has no choice, and Loretta Lynch, what is she, the Solicitor General or whatever, Attorney, I don't know, I forget what she is now for some reason. Anyway, she's the Justice
Attorney
lady.
General. Attorney
General. Attorney General, that's right, yes.
Attorney General.
Yeah, I think that she's going to have no choice. I know she doesn't want to indict and do it, but she has no choice because she can be held accountable for that. And that's like an accessory, and so I don't think she is. She's not stupid, and I think that she's going to be held accountable to do that. That pressure from the FBI, she's not going to have much of a choice, because if the two things that can happen with that, one way or another, it's going to leak out. Everybody's starting to know it now, but once that FBI comes, and I think it's going to happen in March. To be honest with you, I really believe it's going to happen in March. That the whole bottom's going to fall out for her. And in that whole process between now and then, what I've come to find out, and I don't know if you have, Dan or Gary or whatever, but Hillary has I guess a second, I don't know, some kind of a person that she has that's always around her, like 24/7, and that's that woman. Gosh, what's her name now? Abedin, is that what her name is? She's Anthony Weiner's wife, anyway. Anthony Weiner's the guy from New York that exposed himself on the internet and had a bunch of controversy in 2011 and done it again and done it before that. And anyways, but this, I think her name's Abedin or something. I can't remember now. But anyways, she's Muslim, and but she's kind of like her right hand woman, if you will, and she's around her 24/7. And the reason why. And if I'm hearing this, then I'm sure it's going to be leaking out even more and more over the next few days. That it has already, but even more so. Me just talking about it will actually help anybody else too. But Hillary is in really a lot worse shape than the people are understanding. She is having dizzy spells, almost falling over, and she can't take calls in the middle of the night and stuff like that, like she's supposed to be able to, especially being a president. And this other woman that's her right-hand man, so to speak, her right-hand woman, she is the one that's doing a lot of stuff for her, because Hillary has gotten worse and progressively worse with that fall she had a couple years ago and whatever. So she's getting really, really bad, and her memory is bad, and she's getting nervous and stuff like that. She's even had to leave the stage for different things because of that, and it's starting to leak out. And we do not need a commander-in-chief like that. I mean, all in all aside, I don't want to see anybody's health. I don't want to see anybody's health deteriorate no matter what, because I'm a godly person, and someone's health is important. At the same time, with that, I have no control over her health, but I do have control over me, being compassionate. And also, if the person is going to have that kind of a health issue, they're no strength for America as being a commander-in-chief. So you have those two things that are up against her right now. But there's a third thing that's come out in the last week, and that is her husband, Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton came at Donald Trump pretty harsh there about a sexist comment about women and stuff, and that was the wrong thing to do. And, I mean, anybody, if they have a brain, they know that when they come against Donald Trump, he's got more ammunition than our army does. And you won't even see it coming. And look how many people have fell through the wayside. They were standing beside him. Now they're gone. Some of them are gone, and some of them are not far from being gone. Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, may come up a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be a major factor. But these people are smart to just not say nothing personal against Donald Trump. Issues, policies, whatever, yeah, that's fine. But saying things personal, he has got them by the throat, and they don't even feel it yet. And that's the thing is she's done that, and now he's gotten Bill Clinton. Donald Trump has gotten Bill Clinton involved, and it's fair game for all of his history, which Hillary Clinton had a lot to do with. Yeah, Bill Clinton did his things to these women, but Hillary set it up and covered it in the whole bit. So therefore, she's just as much to blame as being encouraging of it, and criminal parts to it also than even Bill Clinton. So therefore, even Bill Clinton's been asked a couple times about him being fair game, and I've never seen Bill Clinton in all the years. I've never seen him not have an answer of succinct and just spot on. And the last 2 times people have asked him this over the last few days, he has garbled his words. He doesn't know how to answer it. He's brushed them off, and that's not a Bill Clinton that I know. And his health is not that great either. So you have all these factors that are coming up against Hillary and Bill Clinton, and there's a lot more to come. This is just maybe a 4 or 5%. We've got people out there writing books about them that are truth, and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are not denying them. They're not coming out because they know that'll draw attention even more to them. So they're kind of painted into a corner here, and with handcuffs on, and there's not a heck of a lot they're going to be able to do to come out of that smelling like roses. Let's put it that way. So you got a person that, if Carly Fiorina does, is, say, a vice president type of, situation, I don't even think that that's going to be an issue anyway. I don't even think that she's going to be, I don't think she's going to even make it, Hillary Clinton. I don't think that's going to be even happening. I think there's just too much going on. It's just going to fall away. So I'd be more, concerned or thinking about just what we can do in our own GOP right now, because the rest will take care of itself if we can get people out there to vote and focus on that itself, instead of just picking, just because one of their candidates falls out or whatever, whether it be a Scott Walker or anybody else that's fell out already. We still have an election here. Just because they've fallen out or whatever have you, we still have an election. We still need to win, because no matter whom is the nominee for the conservative side, the more numbers we get to back that person up, it's going to be 40, 50, 100, 200 times better than any Democrat that will ever come up against them. So we need that ammunition. That's the best we have with God, and we just need to unite. We need to unite. That's we need that more. And we need these candidates to kind of cool it. I think they have a little bit, but in some ways not. They need to unite and not get into personal slings to each other and whatever have you, because at the end of the day, we're going to have to support each other. So we have to support each other now. And I understand there's a vetting process, and they have to kind of, expose each other for their different issues and differences and whatever. But the bottom line is they got to be, have some humanity with that. We gotta make sure that we're, sticking together, even though we're kind of like, it's a voting process. It's a vetting process, but we do need to, what is it? The 11th commandment, I guess, is what it was that Ronald Reagan used quite a bit, and that basically just be mature about it. For one, don't go against each other, that way. Just unite. And on that note, I will hand this over to Gary and get your input there, Gary.
Well, it's very well said, both you and Dan, Glenn. Very exactly. A person needs to unite. And what I also notice, they shouldn't beat up on each other. Especially Republicans should not beat up on other Republicans, because if if we do this and we beat each other down, then guess what? The Democrats are going to have a better chance of winning. And if they win, they're going to learn by Obama. Obama's been writing all these illegal executive orders. They're going to continue that, but they're going to actually get more bold at it, and they're going to write stronger executive orders, which will even further erode our rights as our Constitution's being eradicated. And yes, we need to also bring God back. This is something that's been missing. The Democrat Party is pretty much void of God, or what they try to do is they distort what God means. They try to distort it, and to further to fit their agenda, I should say. And also we need to vote. We need to vote no matter what. We need to get involved. We also need to be involved with Congress. We need to write letters. We need to encourage them. And we can't expect perfection no matter who we get in, whether it's Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, doesn't matter, Carly, on and on. We need to understand that they're not going to do everything that we agree with. We all have a few differences, but we still need to support them, because on the majority of the ideas, the important issues is the support of our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. Those are the real civil rights, is our Bill of Rights. It's not special rights that, for the homosexual community, that's special rights. The Bill of Rights applies to each and every one of us. And they come from God, all these amendments, everything. The Constitution was written in the Articles. It defines what the roles of a government is, what their limits are, and they have to be respected. Well, they're not being respected by the Democrat Party right now. We have to have our party needs to show that we respect them. They got to explain it. This is another thing. They need to explain it thoroughly to the American people. If the American people don't accept it, then they're going to have to explain it very thoroughly. That's the problem that the Republicans had. They just thought automatically that people supported the agenda. Well, we have to explain why we have this agenda and why we support the agenda of freedom, liberty and stuff, as our lives depend on it, because they really do depend on that. We have to be involved with each candidate, and like I said, write letters. We need to make phone calls. I've done a lot of that. Be polite. I always tell people, be polite to them. Don't call them names. If you disagree with them, tell them you disagree. Be vigorous, but be polite. And usually you'll get an answer. I usually get an answer from them, And sometimes you might not persuade them to change their mind. Other times you will. But you get enough numbers. I always say there's power in numbers. If we have an agenda, we're talking about this gun control issue. You got to get involved with all this stuff. These executive orders are all illegal, and we have to make sure Congress acts. And I do believe some of them are speaking up. I don't know if they're serious or not. We don't know. But they are speaking up, which is encouraging. And they're also, I do believe that, if I recall, if it was the Speaker of the House, I think he spoke about the health care, and they want to put the process in place to repeal it. And of course, Obama's going to veto it, but that'll put it'll put it on paper, who's the good guys and the bad guys are. See, it gets that process out there. That's important. Because I do believe this health care needs to be repealed. But if the people know who's for it, who's against it, because before Congress wouldn't act, well, it's law now, we can't do anything. Well, no, we can still do something. We just have to get it out there. If we force them to veto stuff, to show his hand. That's what you do. And I guess just we have to have faith in God. We have to have faith in our newly elected leaders and support them. And like I said, be involved. I guess that's my take on it. So I'll turn it back over to Dan. Dan?
Oh,
sorry,
did we lose Dan?
I was on mute.
Okay.
That darn mute button.
You hit the mute. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to keep quiet.
I always do too when I'm listening to this.
Well, you guys both did really well. It was excellent opening statements.
Thanks. But solidarity, as Glenn said, solidarity is the most important thing. And heaven forbid, even if Jeb Bush is nominated, we can still accomplish a lot simply by voting in conservatives into the House of Representatives. Remember, the House is really the most powerful of the three branches. And right now, for instance, we have two great candidates. Lynch up in the northern half of the state of Ohio, and we have down in Cincinnati, we had J.D. Winterick, and you got two solid conservatives who, if elected to Congress, there all of a sudden you got two more. And if we keep on doing that, we can have the majority over the establishment. At which point, even with an establishment president, we have the ability to overpower him. Because conservative people are not ones to keep their mouths shut, as we all know. And that is a good thing. So we can force a establishment president who is on our side, in our party. We can force him to go our way, simply because if they refuse to take our directive, then they are going against the party on a national basis, and that would not go over well. So don't worry if even if we're stuck with Christie or Bush, which I doubt will happen, but we're gaining conservatives in the House and Senate by the day. I mean, we're getting more and more. We just wait another 2 years, and we're going to have a whole new batch of conservatives that are going to be elected into office, and we can get by with that. One other thing I wanted to mention when Glenn was mentioning about the Democratic Party, I agree. Hillary and Bill's health collectively, both of them are in poor health. And it would be like electing me as president. You know, I can't be assured that I'm going to be around tomorrow. And it would be wrong for me to take on the most powerful position in the world if I can't assure the people of my health. Health has to be considered. And Hillary's is not good. But we are hearing some stirrings in the background that Biden might enter the race. And if Biden enters the race, he poses a true danger in the next election. Because Biden is liked by most people. He's a likable man. And having just lost a son, there's going to be a compassion end also that's going to drive Democrats to him. So, we aren't out of the water yet with the Democratic Party. Though, as it stands right now, I can't see people voting for Bernie Sanders. He is an admitted socialist, And Hillary, though I'm not quite as sure as Glenn about her being indicted, she has so much baggage that when it comes down to the elections, I'd be very, very surprised if she manages to pull off and win. I really don't see that happening. Right now, she's able to avoid the attacks by Trump, but in the primaries, in the primary election, she is not going to be able to do that, and she will go down in flames. I truly believe that. So, in that aspect, I don't see some major problems. It's the biggest concern I have is keeping our side together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm already hearing conservatives saying, I'm not going to vote if Trump wins, because that's giving it to Hillary. No, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Trump's allegiance with the Clintons was strictly for his own benefit as a businessman. And from a business perspective, you're going to go with whoever's in office and you're going to kiss their petunias so that you're going to get your funding for your multi-billion-dollar building. And you're going to say, yeah, I'm going to put it in Arkansas, or I'm going to put it someplace where it'll benefit both of us. And that's how business people work. So don't, think that he supported any given person or side for any particular reason other than to improve the status of his own company. But as a president, I believe that he will start being his own person. I think he's more of a patriot first than he is a party person. And the patriot side of him is what we're looking for. We want a president who is a patriot, who believes in God, and believes in the greatness of our country. And he has said that a number of times. He said, I'm going to make America great again. And this is really what we're after. We want to make America great. And we know what that takes. It starts out with bringing God back as the center, and then we get the people to unite, and then we start utilizing all of the positive things we have in this country. We have so much talent, it's incredible. It's beyond description. We can redo our educational system by just simply getting rid of the Department of Education and throwing that right out the door and doing the same to the EPA. And I wouldn't even argue if the Fed went out the door or the IRS. But I also think, we have ways of dealing with this, and we can solve the problems of this country. Now, recently, President Obama is trying to find a legacy. And the two things he is keying in on is gun control and global warming. And global warming, we know, is a crock of baloney. So he has set his mind on establishing further gun controls on this country. And I turned around knowing this. So Thursday night, right after he did his town hall meeting, I wrote up an article and said the myth about gun control. And before I could get it around, spread around Facebook, Facebook blocked me and threw me in Facebook jail until Monday. So my article could not reach the average person until Monday, because what I said was, if we truly wanted to solve the problems about gun control, further regulations is not going to do it. It's going to be handled at the family level. A child who is raised properly by two parents and exposed to religion, where they have to go to some type of church or synagogue or whatever and learn moral values, and then the child has a parent at home when the child gets out of school who can properly raise them, teach them right from wrong, scold them when they're wrong, and support them in like extracurricular activities, be it athletics or something like Spanish club or whatever. Take, for instance, when I was growing up, I was a member of everything. I was a member of the Spanish club. I was a member of the football team. I did track. I did wrestling. I mean, I was going 24 hours a day practically. And the whole idea is that I was too busy to get in trouble. And every Sunday, like all of us, at least in this round table, we are all raised that every Sunday you knew it was the day that we go to church and we give praise to God. And once we leave church, it is the family time. So we have a nice big breakfast together, and we discuss the events of the week, and we bond as a family. Again, before we eat our breakfast, we again pray to God, and God is always within our lives. And once that is established, and that moral fiber is established, and the guidance given by the parent, then the child is much less likely to get involved in drugs and going around killing people. The other thing we need to do is 52% of the drugs that are in this country come across the border from the major cartels. And if we shut our southern borders and prevent these drugs, or make it a heck of a lot more difficult for the cartels to get drugs into this country, then you are going to, and I'm going to quote President Obama on this, because he used it about gun control. Once you make it more difficult to obtain a gun, you drive the price up, supply and demand. Well, the same thing works when it comes to drugs. The fewer drugs on the street means the higher the price, which makes it less affordable for the average person. And you're going to hurt the drug industry, the illegal drug industry. And between that and having children who have morals, then your crime rate's going to drop by 50% right there. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Why do people kill people? Because they don't have any morals. They don't understand that if I turn around and, I kill somebody, I know that even if I get away with it here on Earth, I'm going to have to pay for it. When I go to the good Lord, you don't want that check mark against you. Because you might be sitting in a very warm place for eternity. And I prefer not to do that.
Me either.
Exactly. So, the moral fiber prevents you, and your belief in God prevents you from committing crimes like that. So the gun problem can be solved at home, not by trying to eliminate them. You got 400 million guns out there. They're going to stay out there. There's nothing you can do about that. And people need to wake up to that. They think, oh, yeah, we're going to add more gun laws. Well, how many criminals do you know who follow the law? By definition, a criminal is a person who doesn't follow the law. It's a real simple concept, people. It doesn't make, his approach, Obama's approach, is not going to work. Since he's been in office, being that President Obama came from Chicago, since he's been in office, what has he managed to accomplish in Chicago? Chicago has some of the strongest gun laws in the country, and it's one of the most dangerous places in the country. If you want to get your butt shot, go to Chicago. That alone proves that these gun laws don't work. I mean, you're better off in third grade introducing children to what a firearm is, making sure they are not afraid of it, teaching them how to handle one properly. And if you do that, you'll solve also the accidental shootings. Because a gun, if properly handled, is as safe as a baseball bat. It's not going to hurt you. I've been handling guns all my life. I've never had one miss fire. Well, actually, in shooting, that's something I did. But but I'm talking about go off without me wanting it to. Guns are very, very safe, and especially today with all these added safety features like the grip safety, and then you have the primary safety. I mean, you have like 3 different safeties on the gun that will prevent it from firing. So if you accidentally drop your gun, which I would be horrified if I did that. I mean, I love my gun. It's not going to go off. So guns are very, very, very safe. And as long as you take care of your gun, after you go out to the range or go out to your field or wherever you're going to go out shooting or you go out hunting and you take it home and you do your normal cleaning of the weapon, it's not going to ever harm you. Your gun, if you take care of your gun will take care of you. It's real simple. I mean, after every time I go to the range, I sit down on the kitchen table, I lay out my little pad, and I take out the recoil spring, and I take everything apart, and I sit there with my little brushes and cleaning everything out, and I listen to TV while I'm doing it. And I'm always amazed. I always look at the technology and how it's put together, and I just have a good old time doing it. And it takes me about an hour. I'm not in any rush. I mean, I'm retired, so I mean,
you get to the
not
point
like
you like the smell of gun solvent.
Exactly, it's and then you oil everything, and then you buff it out a little bit to make it nice, shiny, the bluing. You like to make it nice and shiny looking, and then you put it away. You reload it, put in your ammo. If you have a semi-auto, you pull it back, you set your round in the chamber, throw the safety on, done deal.
There you go. I remember somebody asked me that, when you clean a gun, you have that solvent smell. You get it on your hands and stuff. And what kind of cologne is that? And I said, it's Hops number 9.
Exactly. I don't even notice it anymore.
I don't either. Yeah, it smells pretty good to you after a while.
Yeah,
the wife complains a little bit, but
yeah, something. I've been doing it for so many years. I think it's become part of my blood.
Me too. And when you reload your own ammo, you cast bullets and stuff, and you use this beeswax lube for the bullets. And that's kind of a sweet smell. When you shoot, you can smell that too. Beeswax, it leaves a little scent on you too.
Makes you want to eat honey.
A little honey in there.
So, I mean, your guns are something that you take pride in.
You bet.
I talk about my 1911 as if it's my child. The history of it, and I get excited about those things. It's because they are so much part of our history, and they are so much part of the heritage of being an American. And it's something that should not be looked upon as something terrible, because a firearm isn't.
No, a firearm is just a machine. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And I admire the workmanship. Yeah, just like that. I admire the workmanship that goes into it. I mean, people don't realize that, but when like a 1911 is built, there's so much precision in there, and so much thought went into it. I mean, the people that designed it were geniuses. I think John Browning, was he the one that designed that?
John Browning did it on his own, and if you look at when he designed that back in 1911. I mean, you're talking over 100 years ago, and he was just a kid. He was so young, and the original 1911 was a 32. And when the government contract came out asking for a 45, he went right back to his table and brought out the 45 version, and when they went out and tested it for the first time, and being the first of its kind, the first semi-auto, they shot 6,000 rounds, consecutive rounds. It got so hot that the barrel turned bright red, and what they did is they simply dunked it in a barrel of water, cooled it off, pulled it out, threw another clip in, and they were off to the races again.
Go ahead.
And the 1911 was so great that the first delivery of the model 1911 was in 1911. And it served in every war. It served in the Spanish-American War. It served in World War I. And World War II, at the end of World War II, was the last order of the 1911s to be delivered to the U.S. military, and yet the weapon is still in use today.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it is still part of our arsenal, and Navy SEALs tend to like them because of the weight, and basically they're indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have a tank run over in 1911, you're not going to hurt it.
And another thing too, Dan, that they don't malfunction. You know, that's the thing. They, malfunctions. If you have a malfunction, that could cost the person their life. They don't malfunction. They can feed just about anything into it. Cast, you could feed the hollow points through it, the 185 grain hollow points or the 230 grain full patch bullets. They seem to function without hanging up on you, and that's what I like about it. It's a lifesaver. Malfunctioning a gun, to me, is worthless if you're carrying it for self-defense. You know.
Yeah,
so,
and the 1911 is about the most reliable weapon on ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And every semi-automatic weapon today is based on the 1911 design. So there's a lot of heritage and lineage to that gun, and it's that's why they have fancier versions. They have the Commando version and a few others, but I went with the government issue because I wanted the original. And
I got one of them too. Yep. So.
Yep. I wanted to stay true to form, and I wanted the same gun that John Browning designed. And John Browning, of course, went out to start his own company, and then he went to Browning machine guns that are still in use today. And again, they were developed close to 100 years ago. You're probably the most brilliant gun designer in history. So with that, I'll pass it over to Glenn now that Gary and I have drooled over our gun obsession.
Okay, I'm learning quite a bit about stuff. It's all right. I don't mind at all. I'm not as heavy into it as you guys are, but I'm learning a lot more from you guys about the guns and what makes them work and whatnot. And and yes, Gary, you're right when you say we have to have guns that are reliable and not malfunctioning, especially for self-defense. I mean, that's nobody wants to be carrying a gun that's going to malfunction all the time. I mean, that's just like having no gun. In some ways, I mean, at least you have a gun to you show the person that you have one, but at the same time, you want it to work. So yeah, exactly. No, I enjoy listening to you guys talk about this because it just gives me more information, and that's what this show is all about: is giving information to other people, and I'm sure they respect that from you guys too. So, but yeah, and speaking about guns, and that, we have this officer that was shot in Philadelphia, and now we learned that the guy that did this was actually pledging allegiance to ISIS, and so I mean, this guy should be charged with treason. I mean, this is ridiculous. Now we're getting people that are shooting the officers from a gun that was stolen in 2013, and it was an officer's gun that was stolen, and the guy used it to shoot an officer. I mean, this is just unbelievable. So, this is like it's getting, not just getting it, it's been way out of hand for a long, long time, and it's just getting to a point where it's ridiculous to where even the cops can't even defend themselves properly nowadays because their guns are being stolen and whatnot. I mean, I just, these laws have to be enforced, and this treason that's going on, I mean, we're seeing it from the top down, where treason is just a word of spelling. It's just it doesn't mean nothing anymore to this government, and and see they're feared of charging other people treason, if in one sense or whatever, and they because it's a pretty heavy charge. But at the same time, they're doing it themselves. We got a government that is treasonous. So it's just, it's just amazing, how we have this authority that's basically most of them should be charged with treason themselves, and then we get these people that are killing or trying to kill cops and other people, whatever, and pledging allegiance to ISIS. They're Muslim and whatever have you. So and yet this is supposed to be Muslims supposed to be peaceful. I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing any peace in that radical Islam at all. All I'm seeing is that they're out to kill anyone they can. That's Christian or Jewish or whatever. Anybody that has Judeo-Christian background, infidels. It's ridiculous. It's just unbelievable. And and again, the gun issue is up there. And it's because they're just not doing the right thing with these people they're mental. There's got to be a mental problem with these people that are killing, because no one that has any kind of peacefulness or love in their heart is going to use a gun to for an offensive manner to actually hurt or kill or whatever someone. To use it as a defense, yes. Using it as a defense, definitely. If you have one person that has a gun and they're going into and they're going into someone's house, whether it be A or B, A has guns in their homes and this person knows it, and B doesn't, and the guy doesn't know it, he's not going to mess with the guys with the guns as much as he would be open season on the ones that don't have it. So you see these people are getting bold. They're getting to the point where they don't even care anymore. If someone is armed or not, because it's like a suicide. For themselves, it's a murder suicide. They don't care if they get killed as long as they kill someone else. And that's to the point where, there's some deep-rooted ungodly issues there, and they're taken over by the enemy, the devil himself, and this is another indication of Thursday where that cop, the police officer trying to do his job, a guy runs up to him and shoots him. I mean, this is just ridiculous. So, you guys are speaking about guns and whatnot, and it hits home with the latest one we've just seen, and once again, it's not just a regular citizen. This is someone that's pledging allegiance to ISIS again. So now we have another. And then they find out that he went to the Middle East a couple times. So they're now the FBI is investigating that. So it's just to the point where we have enough problems here in this country with people that are not even ties to anyone other than just being bad people, killing others and officers as it is, and it has been for decades and decades. Let alone having these immigrants that are coming over here, or ISIS or whatever have you, that is basically training people that were born here even to be on their side and whatnot. So that's where treason comes in, and also immigration. When you have these people that now they want all these Syrians coming over and and whatever have you without any proper vetting, I don't think so. You got a guy like this that's born here and being sucked in by the devil and his people and ISIS and whatever, and now he's pledging allegiance to ISIS. I mean, we must stop this, and it has to be stopped. It has to be stopped here. And we're the only ones that can do it, and I don't see much of it being done until a new president is elected, because for 7 years it's only gotten worse. It's never gotten better in any one issue that we've ever had, and that's pretty sad. So we don't have a commander in chief at all. We have a treasonistic administration right now that doesn't care, and their agenda is basically to shatter this economy. And take out our veterans, our armies, and bring them down to where they're next to nothing. So we can't even defend ourselves. Take our laws away. It's basically our freedoms and liberties that are at stake here, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And all that Obama wants to do is make the gun laws even stricter, to the point of where it's not even just a strictness; it's about control. So therefore, we can't have a defense for us because he's taken that Second Amendment away, which means all the other amendments are gone too. First, Fourth, everything, because without the Second, that none of them exist really. They're really nothing but paper, and that's what he's trying to do. And anyone that can't see that, they obviously don't have their faculties using properly between their ears, because there's something really bad going on here with all that. So you guys are bringing up the right topic with these guns. Yes, go ahead, Dan.
One thing, was what happened to that police officer. Had a person like Gary or I had been in the vicinity, we could have and we are allowed to open carry, we'd have our weapons out before the guy got the second shot out.
Yep.
And we'd be aiming in on that person, and he would not be able to get 13 shots out, I can guarantee you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I might be sick to my stomach after I do it, but I would not hesitate to bring my arm to bear and pull that trigger.
Right.
And with him being hit by a 45 from the side, he's not going to be doing much.
He'll be down. Yeah, I agree with you there, Dan. I would have done the same thing. In fact, I would have been, I would have had that trained right on right on the lethal part, right on the kill 5 zone that they teach you in law enforcement. That's where you put them down the quickest. It's right in the heart lung area. That's where I was putting that bullet to put him down in a hurry. This officer, I do believe he survived. There was 13 shots fired. I think he was only hit 3 times in the arm, and he was lucky because he would have been hit in the head or the neck. It would have killed him. But I do believe he chased after the suspect. He chased after the suspect, and I do believe the suspect was still shooting at him as he was chasing after the suspect. He did call in for assistance, which he should have done. That's what you do. So this officer is a hero in my books. He's a real hero.
Oh, yeah. He actually ended up shooting the perpetrator in the butt.
Yeah, he hit him in the butt. And the mayor, is this Philadelphia? Was this Philadelphia?
Yeah, Philadelphia.
I do believe the mayor of Philadelphia, from what I heard through the grapevine, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I do believe that she claimed it was not Islamic. It's wrong to assume it was Islamic dealings that caused this.
They're trying to say he was a nut.
It was a nut, yeah, because like I said, he was praising Allah, So.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is that this officer did that is remarkable is he kept his composure. And when anytime you hear a gun being shot at you, as it goes by, you can actually hear it whiz by.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to keep your composure and pull your own weapon out of its holster that has two different, it has a latch and then it has a snap, and to be able to pull your weapon out while you're being shot at and manage to get a couple shots out, he got out of the car, and I'm sure that, with his, thank God it was only a 9mm. It was a Glock 9mm that the guy was using. And had it been like 45, he wouldn't be around, because 45 would have gone right through the arm, right into the kill area. And, praise God that the guy didn't have the firepower. The one thing about the 45 is that, no, you can't get a lot of rounds off quickly and be accurate. But you don't need a lot of rounds.
No, you don't.
One is usually enough.
Even if it's not even in a lethal area, it still knocks the wind out of them, and they'll go down anyway. Like it's a stomach shot or something.
Right, even if it just hit you in the arm, it'll spin you around and drop you, because it has so much. From within 50 feet, you're talking about getting hit by a brick that's going 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And in other words, it really doesn't matter where you hit them. they're going down.
Oh yeah.
And then your second shot can be your kill shot. So
exactly.
I mean, all you have to do is hit the person, and the rest. I mean, when I'm at the range, you hear all these other 9mm and 32s and 38s and whatever else around me, and they go pip 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 pip, and then I go boom.
Like those little ones are like pop guns, you know.
Exactly, and then you go out and you shoot a 32 or a 38, and it feels like a cap gun. I mean, when you use
is this a real gun? Yeah.
Exactly, and I bought the 45, and I don't like plastic on a gun, and this is another reason why I picked the Colt over everything else, is that it is from front to back. The only parts that aren't metal is the grip, and that's wood.
Yep, that's it. It's all solid, and it's heavy. I mean, it's a heavy gun too, well built.
Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of these guns are all plastic. Now, you pick them up, you swear you're picking up a toy gun. You know, the Glocks even have that plastic. The only thing that's metal is the action and the barrel. You know, the slide is metal too. But you go down to the grip, I picked it up, and it's light. I don't think it weighs 10 ounces or 5 ounces. You know. So.
Well, that was another thing. I'm a big guy, and it's like I'm gonna feel something that's in my hands that feels like a real gun. And, you pick up a Colt, the 1911, you got a gun in your hand.
Oh, yes. Now, you don't have to worry if you drop one of them. They're still going to work. You know, it might mar up the finish a little, but in a life or death situation, that's not going to let you down. So. Exactly.
And I've had mine for 2 years now, and I have had a jam once.
Mm-hmm. I bought mine in '96, so I've had mine for a few years. Well, it'll be 20 years now. So.
What series is yours?
Oh man, I don't even know. I'll get up and look at it right now here.
Mine's a Series 80.
Well, I don't have my glasses on. I can see the print on it, but I put my glasses on.
I know, it's not easy to read.
Not easy to read. My eyes are aging, and I can't read anything without glasses. But,
same here.
But it's a nice heavy gun. I haven't felt this for a little while. Oh, it feels good in my hand. I got a laser sight on it, too, which is nice. So
I got to add that. It's the one addition I want to put on it. And, Glenn, we got to get you out and get you to buy a gun.
Oh,
Once we can do that, once we get you legal, we're going to get you out there, and we're going to, Gary and I will tell you which ones to look at. And,
great.
You look like, from your photographs, you're a big man, too. And, the Colt is a great gun. Wilson is a great gun. There's a couple manufacturers, Smith & Wesson, great guns. I'm not a Glock fan because they're too much plastic. Sorry.
Yeah, it's too lightweight.
Pick up a Glock and it's like, what the heck is this thing? I mean, we kind of joke about weapons, but we're talking about from, we've been shooting for a long time, both of us.
Right.
We look at it from a different perspective a little bit because we know how to, I literally, if I'm going out, I change my ammunition because I have different ammunition inside the house because I live in a 55 and older retirement community.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of trailer bait trailers. I mean, a tornado bait. I call them tornado bait trailers. So I'm afraid that if I shoot around that it will keep. I mean, if I use a full metal jacket, it'll go right through the person, right through both walls, through the next trailer, and probably the trailer after.
Yeah, that's the thing. What depends on your location, where you're at. If you're inside of a house, you need different types of ammo, or maybe even guns with different types of power, lower power. It doesn't have the penetration because that's a hazard. You go in and maybe kill somebody in another house, and they will pin it on the gun owner if that happens.
Right.
And you're out in the middle of nowhere, you probably are okay with something a lot more powerful,
Right. So I pick, at home, I use MagSafes, and they cannot even penetrate wallboard. So it's a very safe, but it has enough, and it's kind of built like a mini shotgun shell, where it penetrates into the body about 8 inches, and then little pellets go everywhere. And that's how it's not.
So like a glaze or safety slug?
Sort of. It has a bunch of little metal BBs inside it, and it's surrounded by a special resin. And then from the outside, it looks like a cross between a full metal and a hollow. But
okay, I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
Where it has, and then it has a bunch of, instead of being lead, it's copper, and it has grooves. So when it hits, it automatically peels back, and then it releases the BBs. So it only has a 6 to 8 inch penetration. But when I go out, I pop open, I drop the clip, pop open, get the last round out, and I throw in my hollow points, and I click that in, and a hollow point out in public, because your shots are going to be longer, it's going to hit your individual, it's going to make a big hole coming out, but it's going to lose most of its power. So its likelihood of hurting another person is pretty low. And you don't want to use the full metals because they keep on going. And that's your problem. So you pick your different ammunition for different situations. And
exactly.
And this is Glenn. You're getting a lesson on guns right now.
Yeah.
Because
that's why there is so many different types of ammo out there, because of different types of shooting. And of course, the liberal Democrats don't understand that. They'll want to turn full metal jacketed. They want to call them armor piercing. And then if anything expands too much, they say, well, that's an explosive bullet. We can't have that either. They want to limit your choices. Well, it limits what we can do. I mean, for self-defense,
Exactly.
You know where I'm coming from,
And knowing and being trained by somebody who knows what type of ammunition should be used for what type of situation you're in. For instance, if I saw a guy coming in my house with an armored vest, I want my full metal jacket. And why? Because the kinetic energy of the round will hit him, and even with a bulletproof vest, he's gonna be a hurting pup.
Oh yeah.
And it's gonna knock the wind out of him, and it'll knock him to the ground.
And that's the idea. Then you can gain control of the situation.
Exactly. Then you can move forward while he's trying to catch his breath, put the gun right to his head and say, don't move.
There you go.
Disarm him, and you got it over with.
That's it. The idea is to end it as fast as possible,
Exactly. And that's how you go with your ammunition. It's the whole thing behind a gun, Glenn, is that different bullets have different kinetic energy, and that's
Right.
the impact energy. For instance, if you look on a tank, they have something called a sabot round or a sable round or whatever. And what it is it comes out of the barrel of the gun, of the tank, at such a high velocity, and depleted uranium is not really radioactive, but it is extremely heavy. And when it hits the side of the opposing tank, it actually turns to plasma, and it burns right through the side of the armor of the opposing tank and disintegrates anything inside.
Wow.
So you go over to it, and what usually happens, it cooks off the ammo, and the turret blows off. But that's how a sabot round works. It's all kinetic energy. The round itself is nothing but a big metal dart that weighs a ton.
They make those also in small arms ammunition. They have Sable or sabot round. They got that too. Like I have a box of 30-06s, and they use a 22 caliber bullet. It's a little plastic insert in there. And of course, that goes down. That's where the rifling engages the rifling, spins the bullet when it comes out. That peels back, and you can use your 30-06 for varmint hunting and stuff like that. It gives it more versatility. So they're even in small arms ammunition. I do believe they make them in handguns too. They call them sub-caliber loads. So there's quite a variety out there.
Well, yeah, whatever it hits, that's going to go through it.
The velocity is a lot faster too. I believe those sabot rounds and the 30-06, they'll travel like 4,200 feet per second. So they're moving along fast. So.
Oh yeah. Well, 30-06, Glenn, is a high-powered.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, I 21. I actually shot one of those in a 30-30.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, back when I was about 20. I think it was 21. Yeah, 21. I was 21 when my friend of mine, he very big up in Canada. He's very big on the hunting and whatnot. And I actually I shot both of those. And what I did, I know it's heavy. It has quite a bit of a kick to it, of course. And we had the cinder blocks, and I disintegrated one. It was just smoke. There was nothing left of it. It was gone.
Oh yeah. If you're on the receiving end of a 30-06, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they got the power.
Moose and stuff like that up there.
Pardon me?
They'll take down a moose.
Oh,
yeah, they'll take it out.
Yeah, that's what he uses it for moose hunting and that too. So both of them.
Moose, bear, whatever.
Oh yeah, about anything on the continental United States, a 30-06 will take down. If you want to go to Africa, then you got to go to something bigger. Although 30-06 would take an elephant down, but it takes more proper shot placement to do it.
Right. Yeah, if you head to the wrong place, you're going to get a pissed off elephant.
Yeah, that's the thing. You won't have much time to make a proper shot placement then. If it's mad coming after you.
Yeah.
Well, he'll be coming charging at you, and then you have a problem getting to the right place.
That's right. Then you bring out the old 600 nitro or 700 nitro, and then that'll work.
Exactly.
About $200 a round. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets more expensive as the higher the power. But the whole thing behind our First Amendment, our Second Amendment, I mean, is the first three sentences. The first sentence really brings it out. And it's about the militia for a sovereign state. In other words, Gary and I have been talking about different guns and different ammunitions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is that the reason why we should not be allowed to own whatever type of weapon we want comes right down to the Second Amendment. And because if I go up, right, and I'm going against a enemy who has weapons that I'm outgunned, then I cannot properly defend myself. And the whole idea behind the Second Amendment, it goes like this: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, which means that to protect the sovereignty of the state is why we should be allowed to purchase whatever we wish. I mean, if you can afford a howitzer, I mean, Lord knows where you're going to put it, but but if you can afford that one, and with the ammunition, that's extremely expensive. I wouldn't even guess how much one of those rounds would cost, but
terribly high.
More than I got.
It would be one shot in a lifetime. That's about it.
Exactly. Then I would say, well, I'm done.
Yeah, there we go. I'm broke now.
Exactly.
File chapter 12.
I mean, but the idea is that the community should be able to have whatever weapons that are necessary to protect themselves. And yes, things like howitzers or, an M1 tank or something like that, should be allowed to be purchased by local communities. And that's why we had armories. Because, the people, our ancestors understood that there are certain weapons that are beyond, the average individual's ability to pay. So what they did is they budgeted it out and they created armories. And they defended these armories. And if you go through any of the old towns in this country, you'll see old buildings that says armory. And that's what they were filled with is, larger weapons to defend our local communities. And if a tyrannical government decided to enter into our community, then we have a ability to defend ourselves. I mean, a howitzer round is usually designed for support of an infantry troop from a long distance, but it also can be aimed at a tank and can be used as an anti-tank weapon as well. If you hit it in the right place, you're going to stop it. And, so these are multi-purposes. And this is what the whole Second Amendment is all about. And plus, it allows me the right to defend myself and my home. You come into my home or Gary's home, and depending on what we have closer, I keep because my pacemaker, I use my 45 over everything else. But if worse came to worse, I could take my 30-06, throw it around, and do a hip shot. And, I may not be accurate for a distance, but close up, I will be.
Oh, yeah. And another advantage of the Second Amendment, too, even though it wasn't intended for this, but it also puts food on the table. In an emergency situation, it'll put food on the table. That's why they have such a wide variety of firearms. You know?
Yeah.
Well, my best friend in high school, his brother was disabled, and the medical bills were so high they couldn't afford to put food on the table. So every weekend we'd go out, depending on what was in season at the time, you know, from small game to waterfowl was our primary. You know, so we had, I had my Remington 1100, and he had, oh God, I forgot what it was. And we went out hunting, and we'd bag a few birds, and he sent out his dogs, and they would bring them back and wring their necks and stick them on our back pouches and bring them home, and I'd give them to my friend, and once a year we'd go up to Vermont and New Hampshire in the winter, and we'd bag ourselves a bear or a deer or a moose, whatever, you know, came in sight, we got a good shot. I mean, you know, when you're shooting at a moose or a bear, you want to make sure you're shooting in the right You want to get the kill shot.
Oh, yes.
Because you don't want an angry bear at you after you, or an angry moose.
No. Those claws are pretty nasty on those bears.
Oh, yeah, they're big critters. And you don't want
they don't give you love taps. They if they hit a person across the face, they'll probably take most of the face off. I mean, that's how bad those claws are. You know, they're sharp. You know.
Oh yeah, and your sidearm, well, may stop them at the last minute, but they'll be way too close for comfort.
I know what you mean. With a bear, though, what I would probably prefer is something like a larger caliber with a heavy bullet. You know, a minimum of a 44 mag with probably a 300 grain bullet. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, you don't want a 45 is great for what it's intended for, but I would say it's not bear medicine. You know. So. No,
you want a 44. You want something that has a little more kick to it.
Too bad.
You know, the 45 is great for people and for most game, but big game like bears and mooses and things like that, you want something else. But anyway,
that's why they have so many different types of calibers out there, you know, because there's different situations, different animals. Like if you're hunting elephant, you probably want to go up to maybe a 460 Weatherby minimum, or even a big 50 BMG would work for elephant. Anything like that. You know, just to give you the best odds is your favorite. What's that?
Jeez, you know the kick on a 50?
50, yeah. Well, those 50s are potent. They're potent firearms. I shot through a tree, a cottonwood tree. She went through about 4 foot of tree there. You know, so it's pretty powerful.
Well, they were used in World War II to shoot down other planes. I mean,
that's what I heard. Yeah. Well, they're not shooting down planes, but you know. They're a lot of fun to shoot. So.
Oh yeah, you're talking a shell that's pretty damn about 5 inches long, and when you holding around, you know you're holding around.
Oh yeah, it's basically what it is. It's just a scaled up 30-06. You know.
Yeah, 30-06 on steroids.
About what it is. And tracers are a lot of fun to shoot too. They light it up. I call them bottle rockets on steroids. You know, because those things go for a long ways. And once we're out in the open here, so I can know where to shoot, where it's safe. And well, they do carry quite a distance. You know, some of my match grade bullets, if a person was careless and shot it up in the air, they'll carry over 5 miles. But one thing about the match-grade bullets are made out of aluminum, and if you shoot into a target, they come apart, and it's basically dust. Then they're harmless, you know, once they hit something. And that's their intended purpose, you know, just self-destruct when they hit something, so they don't ricochet and carry for a long ways. So.
Right. I mean, with a 50 cal, Chris Kyle took down a person from a little over a mile and a half, with a 50, and that's how far its kill range is. And Lord knows how you make a shot like that. I mean, but
a lot of calculations go into it. You know, they have to figure the bullet drop and of course the type of bullet. And I think he probably just used his typical military grade, bullet for probably the 705 grain bullet is what they come out. That's usually a military, full metal jacketed, and you get out to about a mile. You got mirages you got to deal with, and you probably miss probably as many as you hit just because of the mirage factor. Because you don't know where you're aiming at, really.
And you even got curvature of the earth you got to calculate in at that range. I mean, you got a lot of calculations, and to be able to do that is true. Well, it's beyond talent. I mean,
well, there's a formula they give you for doing it, and I guess they got scopes now that'll do that automatically for you. They're expensive. They're like $12,000-$13,000 for a scope for it, but they'll do all that calculations for you.
Right. And I'm sure he had probably a guy next to him telling him, what lead and what,
the
all the
velocity
factors involved, and
even the temperature, the humidity is a factor. So
everything. When you're talking about shooting that far, you're talking. Sorry, Glenn, we're jabbering about this, but gives you an idea about all these different weapons. And the 50 they use as snipers because an average sniper shot is 500 yards. I mean, they're shooting 250 to 500 yards because they're doing this from a distance. And, sometimes in closer quarters, they'll be only 100 yards or 75 yards. But their idea as sniper's job is to take the person out with one shot. And the 50, it will guarantee it will take anything out with one shot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like to see what would be left, but
they maintain their velocities for quite a distance. 50 will, they're coming out with even better ones. They got a 416 Barrett now, and that's supposed to even be flatter shooting yet. There's always new stuff coming on the market. So,
right, and you're talking a half-inch hunk of metal that is going out at very high velocity, and if you're in the way of it, you're in trouble.
Well, they come out of the muzzle. The 705 grain will come out of the muzzle probably around 2,800 feet per second, so it's moving pretty fast. So.
Yeah, you're talking about over the speed of sound.
Times, yeah.
The actual person that got hit, they figured he was dead before he heard the sound of the round being fired. Because the speed of sound at ground level is about 750 feet per second, and around traveling faster than that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot faster.
That's true. The thing is, when you have rounds that fire faster than the speed of sound, the suppressors aren't really effective very much because you still hear the bullet, the sonic crack of the bullet. Now, they do make rounds. J.D. Jones from SSK Industries builds on an AR-15 action, and it's a 300 Whisper. It uses a 30 caliber. It's a 221 fireball cartridge necked up to 30 caliber, and it shoots a 240 grain bullet, but it travels only about 1,000 feet per second or less, and that's right below the speed of sound. And with the suppressors, all you hear basically is the action. Just a little bit of a pop maybe from the suppressor, but not much. And they adapted, the military adapted that round now. So that's a relatively new round that they adapted. So.
Yeah, the 50s are noisy because of their velocity. And it makes its own little sonic boom as it goes through the air. It's not like a jet or anything, but you hear it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's definitely a round that you want to wear hearing protection when you shoot, because it will definitely ruin a person's hearing just a few rounds, without it.
Oh, yeah. Darn loud. I've only shot one once, and that was like, damn, it's like a mini cannon.
Yeah, it's just basically a small cannon is what it is. So, well, it's classified legally. It's classified legally as small arms ammunition, just like your 30-06. When you get over 50, now some of them will be classified as cannon or artillery rounds. Like some of the 20 millimeters are classified as artillery. They got that requirement that 50 caliber and less is considered small arms ammunition. So,
right, that can be obtained by the average person if you can afford it.
Yeah. They're not bad. The 50s aren't too bad to shoot if you hand load them. I mean, you can handle them relatively cheap, and if you take care of the brass, you keep it annealed and stuff like that, the old brass will last you a long time. But if you go to like match grade loads, you're talking probably $8, $9, $10 a round.
Right.
Which isn't bad considering some of the bigger rounds are more expensive. But that's you get up bigger, you're going to be paying for it, and that's just the way it is. So.
Right. But anyway, now that we've given our audience a little rundown on different types of guns and why there are so many different calibers, there's so many different uses, and you got to pick the appropriate one for what you need. And, for instance, in self-defense, like concealed carry, you want something smaller because you want to be able to hide it. I'm a person with a big paw, so I'm kind of required. I mean, otherwise I only have 2 or 3 fingers on the damn. I mean, it was funny when I went in for my concealed carry. They had to have 2 people squeezing my hand together in order to get my hand burned.
These small weapons, and my wife has a little 38 special, and that thing's grip is so small I can't even shoot the darn thing. It's too small for my hand. But I have a 38. I bought a Taurus one. That's got a nice large. It looks odd, but it's got a nice large grip. So, which makes it easy.
Well, that's so you have to pick one that fits your hand, and there's a whole sorts of things you have to consider when you're buying one. But anyway, this is why the Second Amendment is so important. And you ask Gary or I, have you ever shot a person, outside of a military situation? And the answer is no. Game-wise, different story. But our object is, when we carry, the last thing we want to do is pull our weapons out. The very last thing we want to do. That is the last resort. I mean, you have to have control over your own emotions. And when, I know I could fire and do what I have to do, but I'd be physically sick afterwards.
I think we all would be.
Training takes over. The more you shoot it, the more comfortable you become, and the more the muscles just respond. And then you fire your round, and it's a target, not a person. but after, when you realize you took a life, is where it really comes down to you. So we understand that. And we understand that, taking a life is not an easy matter, even if it is a bad guy. And you're going to have to look at the results, and the results are not going to be pretty. I mean, and those are facts. So this is why the average law-abiding citizen is not going to be around acting like Rambo. We're going to shoot at a last resort. And this is why these laws are really not necessary. But we do need the ability to protect ourselves. And that means we need a variety of weapons. I have personally, I have 3, 12 gauge, 30-aught, and I got my 45. And the reason I had the 30-aught was because when we went up big game shooting, we didn't do much in small game, so no need for a 22. I wanted something that would take down a 6 or 8 point deer immediately, from 200 yards away if necessary. Or if I got a good shot on a moose, up close, I wanted to make sure I could shoot it. So that's why I chose these 3 weapons. And the 12 gauge, the Remington 1100 is a very versatile gun because you can pick, 9-shot, whatever you were going after, whether it's goose or a duck or, quail, you can use it for everything. You just have the right ammunition for it. And so these 3 weapons served my purpose, and 2 of the weapons I've had since I was a teenager. And they still look pretty darn good.
I still got that old Dad has.
Exactly. I even had the first gun at 12 gauge I ever shot, which was my dad's, and it was an old Stevens bolt action 12 gauge with no recoil pad. I mean, you shot that, you knew it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we keep them, they're locked up, and they're safe, in a safe place, and every once in a while I take them out and clean them, and just to make sure they're always in good shape. But, we take this very, very responsibly. We treat our weapons with great respect. So it is no need for the laws they're putting out. I mean, a standard background check I can deal with. It's kind of like a driver's license. But and you should prove that you know how to use the darn thing. I can understand that. And beyond that, no. You are not going to go in and do 14 background checks just so I can open carry.
And pay a ton of money to do them,
Exactly. I just had to re-up my my concealed carry. It cost me $135.
Yeah, they're not cheap,
If you want to pass, you want to pass these checks, and it's like, really ticks me off to have to spend that money, and even when I first bought my 45, I had to have a background check to have the 45 to buy it, and then the same damn background check for my concealed carry.
Fingerprints and everything.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's ridiculous. Well, we're coming to the end of the show, and I think we talked too much. But
but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah, sorry, Glenn. You know,
hey, no worries.
Wish you, you were more involved in handguns, but and shotguns and rifles and all those goodies.
Well, I will be once I get my paperwork all done here. I'll be able to jump right in there with all of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'll have a lot of fun, Glenn. You'll enjoy that. It's a blast to go out shooting. I enjoyed it since I was 6 years old.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And no, I hope you guys don't get cut off. I don't think you will, because we're down to 10 seconds. But now the show's over officially.
Okay.
But we're in archives anyway. But once you're able to, Glenn, it actually, sporting clays is fun. There's a lot of, actually, you can get into, you can go through these little target ranges where your targets pop up and you have to draw your weapon over and shoot, and it teaches you how to respond quickly. And doing that, then you have target shooting where, you're going out 100, 200 meters, and that's a whole art within itself. There's so many different aspects of guns. For instance, my longest kill shot was 200 yards, and I was pretty proud of myself. I mean,
that's getting out there a little ways.
I mean, after 200 yards, when you look out around the scope, it's like a little dot out there.
Oh yeah, your scope can pick up things you can't see with the naked eye. I mean, some of these guns are so accurate. You get some of these target guns; they can put 5 bullets in one hole. I've seen that done already.
Yeah,
they're not cheap to buy, but you can walk around and you see one hole there. Oh, you hit it once? No, 5 bullets went through that same hole. So.
Oh yeah, like the sniper gun that Chris Kyle used. The accuracy of that thing is beyond incredible. I mean, can't even describe it. But you're talking a $15,000 weapon.
Oh, yeah. They're not cheap. I think that's what one of my 50s cost there was like. Well, I didn't pay that much when I got it because I got it 25 years ago. But I think right now, if you bought the same thing if it was brand new, you'd probably pay about $15,000 for it.
Oh yeah, they ain't cheap.
No, they're not. I mean, they're not cheap. So the criminals probably aren't going to purchase one anyway, and they're pretty much custom made. A lot of them are, because when they build them to fit your shoulder for your body size, your frame, and everything too. Because if it doesn't fit you right, you're not going to shoot accurately either. So
exactly. I mean, Kaya, who was married to Chris Kyle, she is now a competition shooter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she's out. She has won the national championship. It'd be
nice to get somebody like her on one of these shows here. If we could do that in some future show.
I'm going to try to get her on because, she was hitting targets at 500 yards.
And by the way, I mentioned Tammy Locke, and she sounds like she's interested. I got a hold of her. And she'd like to come on, but that might be a different subject, of course. But she was on the show called The Monroes back in the '60s, and it's a good family show. We were talking about that on our last program. how these family shows are great for the whole family, promote family values, and that show also promoted family values. And she said she sounded interesting. So we'll have to see if we can get her on some future show. So.
And Glenn, I'm sure you have some good people that you can get on.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yes. There's a right close to here in Plano. He's got he's been on radio himself and TV and stuff like this. He has his own show and that, and he's not anymore, but he's very well versed on everything we're talking about when it comes to guns, political stuff, and everything. So yeah, maybe I'll talk with you guys about that too, because he said sure, I'll come on. Now he's got a lot to say.
That'd be great.
Then set him up, and both of you guys set him up, because you know something. Right now, we have pretty much an open calendar, so...
Okay, I'll try and set something up for him for the next couple weeks then, because he's willing to come on any time. I told him the times and everything, so...
Okay.
That would be wonderful, because then I can write up, set up a show for that date, and then... we can advertise it and get it out to more people.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, great. That would be great. And it's fun to interview people like that. Let them tell their story.
Right. So everybody listen in. We're going to be expanding our show a little bit and trying to have more and more guests on and more variety of guests. So we can keep you more entertained, and you can also learn about different things. Like Kaya Kyle has a new foundation set up also that for veterans, and that would be wonderful also to address, and we can bring on all sorts of guests to keep the variety. And the whole idea behind Saturday Symposium is to give you a variety of outlooks, from an historical aspect right up to present day. And we don't like to be keyed into any particular topic. So the more variety we have of people, the better off I think we are as a show. And hopefully we can attract, you will share it with your friends, and we'll get more people in. And with your support, we'll just keep on building from there, and we'll make this a great show. And with that, let's go around for our final comments. And Glenn, I'll pass it over to you.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, thank you very much. I think we always talk about a lot of stuff that people need to hear and want to hear also. So having other guests to voice their opinions and thoughts and background about all those issues that we have, whether it be political or whatnot, it's very important. And we thank our listeners for anything that they have any kind of input. They can call in also and whatnot too. So with that note, I'll pass it over to Gary for his final thoughts.
Well, I agree totally with both of you. I think it's good to get other people, different points of view on there, and get other people, maybe, like I said, get Tammy Locke on there and have her talk about what she did, how she got involved, and how she got into the show. She was a child actress at the time, and of course, there'd be numerous other guests too we can probably get on. I'd like to still get J.D. Winteregg back on if we can get him on in some future show, because I'd like to discuss things with him, and it'd be a great show, it'd be a lot of fun. So, but anyway, I'll turn it back over to Dan. If he wants to make his closing statements or whatever. So, okay.
Sure. Well, J.D. will be on American Sovereignty on the last Tuesday of the month. So Gary, call in, and you can be part of our roundtable discussion. And you're invited there. So it'll be Tuesday, I think it's January 26th or something like that. I don't have my calendar.
Did you say Tuesday?
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I have that day off. If I'm working, I work from 3 o'clock till 11:30 at night, and where I work, I'm not allowed to call in. So,
Oh, okay.
I work at a correctional facility, and they don't let you make phone calls. So, but if I have the day off, I'll call in.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, he'll be in the last weekend in January, and I'm sure we can talk him into another interview later on. So we'll work with JD, and we'll add other guests, and we'll try to get a nice variety for everybody. And with that, I think we're going to end with a song I always loved from a person that came from, he was born and raised about 20 miles from me. He lived out in Mofford's Vineyard and was married to Carol King. His name is James Taylor, and I've always loved James Taylor. So I think we'll end the show with Sweet Baby James. And thank you for tuning in today. I hope you found today's program entertaining. And for you gun lovers out there, I'm sure you enjoyed it. So with that, we'll see you either on Tuesday night with American Sovereignty. That airs from 10 p.m. Eastern to midnight Eastern, which, Gary, I think that's, 9 to 11 on your...
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll have to see what I have for my hours, or I'll look at my schedule. So.
Okay, and as I said, it's the last Tuesday of the month, so we'll have JB on, and I believe not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, we're going to be having Charles on, who is JD's manager, or what do they call it? Campaign manager. So we'll have both on, and so we got some really, really good things coming up here. And with that, I'll end with Sweet Baby James, and have a blessed week, everybody, and we'll see you on Tuesday and or Saturday next week. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.
There is a young cowboy who lives on the range. His horse and his cattle are his only companions. He works in the saddle and he sleeps in the canyon, waiting for summer, his pastures to change. And as the moon rises, he sits by his fire, thinking about women and glasses of beer, and closing his eyes as the dogies retire, he sings out a song which is soft but it's clear, as if maybe someone could hear. Good night, you moonlight ladies, rock-a-bye, sweet baby Jane. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Won't you let me go down in my dreams and rock her by sweet baby James? Now the 1st of December was covered with snow. So was the turnpike from Stockbridge to Boston. Lord, the Berkshires seemed dreamlike on account of that frosting. With 10 miles behind me and 10,000 more to go. There's a song that they sing when they take to the highway, a song that they sing when they take to the sea, a song that they sing of their home in the sky. Maybe you can believe it if it helps you to sleep. The singing works just fine for me. So good night, you moonlight ladies. Rock-a-bye, sweet baby Jane. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Won't you let me go down in my dreams and rock her by sweet baby Jane?
Hi, you've reached Burger King. To leave a message, press 1.
Hey, Burger King, it's Mike calling again. I called a billion times about the burgers and the chicken and the flame grilling. My big idea. Call me back. I'm here at home.
Michael, didn't we talk about you trying the new flame grilled chicken burger from Burger King? A savory flame grilled chicken patty topped with veggies on a toasted bun. Now just 2 for $5. Or mix and match with another delicious sandwich, part of the 2 for $5 deal. The new flame grilled chicken burger, only at Burger King. Limited time only. Price and participation vary.